What up, guys? Alec Hunter here with another comic book TV show review, but this time we are looking at Superman and Lois, episode 1, titled Pilot. And joining me for this discussion is the one, the only, Teister Daisetsu.
What's going on, my dudes?
All right, so straight up out the gate, guys, spoiler alert, you know, you've done this before. You've seen us here. We do this. We spoil it all because, you know, we're jerks.
Spoilers.
So, a couple of things right off the top. This is a very different show for CW. Very cinematic in its visuals. Its aspect ratio is like that of a feature film. Part of that is because there's some HBO money being thrown around in the background. We don't need to get into all that here, but I did want to make that abundantly clear that this is a very different show than like The Flash or Legends of Tomorrow in both tone and visual quality. The effects are pretty top notch especially for frickin' CW, right, Ty?
Right, yeah, it was really weird to see that, you know, like normally through like Arrow, The Flash and all that, you could tell it's good cinematography, but it's not on par with even movies, and this one felt like I was watching the first hour of a movie, and
right.
it felt really nice to look at. You know, it was absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, and I think my favorite part of the episode is actually like the first 4 minutes.
Oh yeah,
you get this intro narrated by Tyler, I believe it's Hoechlin or Hoechlin. I'm gonna butcher that name, but anyway, he plays Clark Kent, aka Superman, and he narrates the entire story of his life, from crash landing on Earth to being found to discovering his powers. I thought it was really funny when he threw the toy rocket and it went through the corner of the house.
Oh yeah, that was like adorable. Like, it was like the nicer side of Brightburn, basically. Like, instead of putting his hand into the lawnmower, he threw a rocket and it went through the house. So.
Right. And it does go over some of the normal, quote-unquote, story beats, depending on which retcon of Superman you grew up with. His father, Jonathan, does die of a heart attack.
Yeah.
In a nod to the original appearance of Superman in the 1930s, there is a scene where he catches a vehicle and is setting it down, very reminiscent of the cover of, I want to say it's Action Comics. And I do want to apologize, guys. I'm not nearly as versed in DC as I am with Marvel, so unfortunately, you're not going to get all the crazy insider stuff that I usually do with the Marvel things. But it was really cool because it was like the original suit. It had like the black S on it, and it looked like he was wearing a padded muscle suit almost.
Yeah, it was more the pastel color suit, which was a very nice touch. And yes, you're correct. It was Action Comics when it came to setting down the vehicle. So it had a lot of really good Easter eggs, especially in that first 4 minutes, because it was like, you're going down through memory lane of, you know, what Clark Kent went through, you know. So it was very nice to see that pastel suit and how it looked. Like, that looked really, really nice, but also looked like a first model suit. So right.
And the little kid, after he gives him back his hat, he's like, "I like your suit. Thanks, my mom made it."
Yeah, exactly. So,
but we continue down his story. We're still in the first 4 minutes here. We need to speed this up. So he meets Lois, and of course they get married. And in this reality, this storyline, they have twin boys. Jonathan Kent, obviously named after his father, Jonathan, is very, I would say, alpha male, as far as, like, he's very much an extrovert. He's popular. He's physically gifted. And then there's Jordan. He's got the dark hair. They come out right at the gate and they say that he has social anxiety disorder. So this is a very family-focused show that deals with the life of the family of Superman. And there are some pretty heavy issues discussed. Drug abuse, several other things. This is not going to be your action romp TV show. This is going to be heavy television, but it feels heavy done right. What do you think, Ty?
Honestly, like a lot of the issues that they touched up on in that first, little bit of the show, it tugged at my heartstrings a little bit, because it's not just old school, Superman leaping over tall buildings trying to win Lois's heart. This is like literally after this all happens, and you're combining the fact that he's a superhero with these extraordinary abilities, but he still has to be a dad. Like other shows have kind of done that before in other movies. We saw Incredibles, but you look at Incredibles and they're not going to do something like this. It's not like that. This is real world, like this is problems that we're facing now when it comes to the world. And I hate to be like that, but it's true. Especially with these problems being so apparent with a majority of the populace. So it was a very nice modernizing of, what would happen to Clark Kent after being Superman and after getting his, love of his life. What would happen? And touching those issues of, like his dad dying and, having the twins and, doing all that. It was absolutely heart-wrenching, but in the good way that I thought that the story needed to be taken. It felt fresh. Like, it didn't feel cookie-cutter Superman. Like, you could see that he's dealing with emotional problems. So, it was really nice. I actually liked it.
And that they do a really, really, really good job of humanizing Superman.
Absolutely.
That's always been kind of one of my biggest complaints about Superman as a character, is it's hard to humanize him. It's hard to put him in that Spider-Man everyday man, Peter Parker-esque role.
Right.
He plays it off pretty decently as Clark Kent, but like this show puts Superman in its crosshairs, and it's like we can hurt him in ways that the comics never have.
Yeah.
So first episode, we're a few minutes in. Superman has a very, very bad day. After saving a nuclear silo, the next day he goes to work and gets fired. Turns out Morgan Edge, this is a character from the comic books who I don't know a whole lot about. I just know that he's a D-bag. Morgan Edge bought the Daily Planet, and of course they are downsizing because that's what corporate hacks do.
Unfortunately.
5 minutes later, he gets a phone call that his mother had a stroke and died. Just lost his job. 5 minutes later, Martha's dead. That's a gut punch, I think, that even Superman is going to feel.
Yeah.
And he played that off. Like, the phone rings. He's like, "Hi, Mom." And it's like, "No, it's the doctor." And then, zoom, super speed out of there. And he's back in Smallville. He's like, "I didn't screw around. I didn't waste any time." I thought that was a beautifully shot scene.
Oh, yeah. No, like, I wasn't expecting, like, so much, like, emotion in this, because, again, I'm so used to, the cookie cutter Superman. He knows no pain, and, this really, like you said, humanized him. And it was a really freaking bad day, that's for sure.
Really bad day.
I cannot stress enough the actor. Like, I can already tell you he's already going to be one of the better Superman of our time. Like, he's got this part nailed to a T. Like, just even in that scene where, like, he's in disbelief, like the small head movements, it was like, it was perfect. It's like literally the exact reaction that somebody would have to this, being
right.
a superhero of his caliber. So I can't explain how good his acting was. It was just phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, all of the acting was top notch. I do know there are a couple of differences from the comic books, like Sam Lane, Lois's dad, knows that Clark is Superman, and he's totally cool with it. Like, he's like, "I'm pro Superman," which in my experience has never been the case. I could be wrong. But that's just one difference that I noticed. But at the funeral, I shouldn't say at the funeral, because we see the funeral a little bit. We have some flashbacks to when Clark went to his dad's funeral. I thought that was, again, great cinematography. This HBO pumped out money and they made a freaking hour-long movie, man, for this. I can't get over how beautifully shot this entire thing is.
I truly feel that HBO, with, the direction they're going with their movies and their series, they're realizing that quality is a much better than quantity. And I think we're going to definitely see that, obviously, with more stuff like the Snyder Cut, Godzilla vs. Kong, all that stuff. So it's gonna be great to see that, they're actually putting in the money to get that quality going. So if everything that they're gonna make from now on is kind of like that, I'm gonna be excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So after the funeral for Martha, we return to the Kent farm for, I don't know, a gathering, a morning session, an after party. I mean, it just felt kind of like a weird thing to be doing, to like have the town come over. But turns out Martha's like the Superman of Smallville. She's doing all kinds of stuff to help people, making sure that people don't lose their homes and stuff. But the important thing here is we learn that Lana Lang still exists, Superman's old flame from high school. Luckily, this isn't going to be some sort of strange love triangle thing. She is married with 2 children of her own. Her husband, Kyle, is a big jerk.
That's putting it lightly.
I mean, it's YouTube. I can't use the language I want to use.
Yeah.
So, we find out that Morgan Edge is investing in Smallville. Lois brings it up, and it turns out that Kyle is a gigantic Edge supporter. And so there's a little bit of political, I don't know, gun rattling between Lois and Kyle. And then he's dismissed to go take care of his children to avoid heavy conflict.
Right.
Turns out that Jordan has a crush on the oldest daughter. Jordan is the younger, or I shouldn't say younger, the dark-haired one. They're twins. They're both 14.
Yeah.
Jordan has a crush on Lana's oldest daughter, Sarah, who initially seems to be kind of interested. Like, she shows more interest in Jordan than she does in Jonathan. They need to reset the wireless router, which is in the barn, which the boys have been told to stay out of. So of course they go into it.
Can I just say really quick, that is absolutely weird to me. The wireless router for the internet is inside the barn with the spaceship. Not just inside the barn. All right, not just inside the barn where, somewhere below the floorboards there's a spaceship that could ruin her son's entire identity again. Yeah.
But that it's up a 30-foot freaking ladder.
Yeah.
Hanging out over loosely strapped together steel pipes. By the way, this all leads into the fact that Jordan climbs up there, he hits the router, and then he falls, knocking down all the pipes. Jonathan jumps in to save him, and we don't see what happens, but all the pipes fall down on them.
Yeah.
And then Sarah goes and gets Clark. Clark comes in, and it turns out the boys are perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like, mild concussion at the worst.
I will say this. If there was one gripe I had about this, it was that scene. And the only reason why is because, again, why would the wireless router be 30 feet in the air, up a freaking ladder, right above a freaking thing of steel piping that is loosely wrapped? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I don't think Martha was that stupid of a person to put her router inside the barn. Right. So right. It seemed like a maybe she was. You never know. She could just be like, hey Clark, honey, can you just dip over here and reset the router for me? All right, we're good. Yeah, but you could easily just walk into the living room and fix it.
I don't know.
The only thing that I can maybe think of, it's stupid, is that's the best reception they could get, is right at that specific spot. But even then, it's like, that's kind of stretching just a little bit. So
right.
But anyway, I digress. Weird plot point, but I digress.
Right. So after this happens and the boys turn out okay, Clark and Lois discuss, that they think Jonathan has powers, and they think that because Jordan already has a bunch of self-confidence issues, that this would be another blow to him. So they, are arguing about whether or not to tell the boys the truth about who Clark is, because apparently they've been alive for 14 years and haven't figured out that Dad is Superman.
Right.
So, and in the midst of this, General Lane shows up, tries to get Clark to go stop this bad guy who's damaging nuclear silos, and Lois says no. Lois says, be Dad. It's time for you to be Dad. Your family needs you more. This guy's destroying nuclear silos and nuclear power plants, but your kids need you more. That's that.
It's like the most irrational thinking. It's like when, the girls go camping and Jason Voorhees about to kill him. It's like, let's hide behind the tree instead of running away.
Right.
So,
But I will say that there was a nice slap in the face moment from General Lane to his daughter. It's like, yeah, you fell in love with Clark Kent, but you married Superman.
That was actually my favorite line from the whole episode.
Yeah.
Because it really, it puts it in perspective.
Yeah, it was really, I think it really sums up the show, because this show is not about Superman. This show is about the Kents.
Yeah.
But no matter what happens, Superman's always going to be a looming presence, in the Kent family. So later on in the episode, the boys are discussing. Well, I shouldn't say discussing. Jordan is convinced that something's up because neither one of them got hurt.
Yeah.
Jonathan's just kind of like, whatever, I'm a big dumb jock, and I shouldn't say that. That's mischaracterization, hardcore. But I'm a big outgoing jack, and we were just lucky, like thank the lucky stars. We're good.
Yeah. He's a very positive outlook on life.
Very, very much. He doesn't question a whole lot.
Yeah.
But Jordan absolutely wants to investigate. So of course they do. They go into the barn. And guess what? Wouldn't be a show if it didn't happen. They found the ship.
Ooh.
So this red-orange colored crystal comes out of the ship when Jordan touches it. I don't see what happens to it after the next couple of scenes. Like, they go out and they get into a verbal argument with Clark. But I don't know what happens to this crystal. So I don't know if that crystal is going to have any significance, but I imagine that it probably will, because why would you show us that if... Anyway.
Yeah. And it was very weird because you couldn't exactly tell what color... Like, let's be honest, it's kryptonite. We know it's kryptonite. But the problem is that because of how the color was or how the lighting was in that show, like, you couldn't tell if it was red kryptonite or orange kryptonite. So...
See, I'm not familiar with all the forms of kryptonite, so I don't... Like, I know, like, the red one is something about making him lose his inhibitions and kind of become a jerk, lose his morals or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking that this might be some sort of, like, data crystal. Maybe we can see Brainiac come out of this in the future.
That is highly possible as well. But
so
I know there is orange kryptonite. I don't know what orange kryptonite exactly did, per se. But I do know it was a thing. So that might be something that we can look into before the next episode.
Yeah.
And that way we'll have those juicy deets of what the first episode was actually leading to.
So, I actually really enjoyed this next scene because I used to be a banker. Mm-hmm. They talk about how Martha took out a reverse mortgage on her home, which there's, so many predatory things going on here. Right. She was taking money out on half the value of her home to help keep the rest of the town basically going, to keep people from, like, losing their homes and all this stuff. Like, absolute saint work. But it turns out that either Lois and Clark need to pay that loan back, or they can sell off the farm. Lois thinks this is all pretty predatory. She's freaking right. It's predatory as fuck. Anyway. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
YouTube. So she wants to start investigating that, and so she does. Meanwhile, Superman's baited into a quote-unquote test at a nuclear power plant. This is kind of like our first real action of the episode, other than, you know, the opening where he saves the first nuclear power plant, but there's no like conflict there. Right away, Superman is introduced to a calculating opponent. We don't see him, it's just a voice off screen, because Superman can't see him. He's hiding within the lead shielding and all that. Very intelligent person. Knows a lot about Superman. And then he steps out where he can be seen. Supes flies through the wall, and when he first goes through the wall, like, I don't know what it was that they kind of stopped everything, and they just have this shot of him like an inch away from the wall, and they kind of pan around it just a little bit, and then he goes through the wall, and it's just an amazing visual. Hopefully I'll have a screenshot of that up here for you guys.
Oh yeah, it was a fantastic scene. It seemed like, at first when I think about it, it seemed kind of like a corny couple shots, but in all actuality, like cinematography wise, like it was super nice, especially with that long pause, and then you're like, what, like, why are they doing that? And then it pans, and then you just see the explosion of rubble as he goes through. I was like, at first I was like, you know, but then after like looking back at it, I was like, wow.
Honestly, for a second, really, I thought my stream
nice.
Froze.
Yeah, like it was really nicely shot. So
right. So in the middle of this, Jordan decides that this is a good time to sneak away. I mean, obviously he doesn't know what's going on. Jordan decides to sneak away and meet up with Sarah at this bonfire. They talk a little bit. We learn that Sarah possibly attempted suicide about a year earlier in the story's timeline. She talked about taking a whole bunch of her mom's pills. Like I said, this is a very heavy show as far as these kind of things. It does take a very deep look into the effect of mental illness and the way that society kind of handles and stigmatizes it. But Jordan gets the wrong idea and decides to make a play at Sarah. He kisses her. Sarah's boyfriend's not very happy about that.
Yeah, let it be known this whole time that it was never expressed that Sarah had a boyfriend. So
this is true.
Yeah. So it was a shock to everybody.
Yep. So a fight starts up, and then Jonathan shows up. He had tracked down where his brother went to, and he starts to defend him. And the whole thing goes sideways. Jordan, while the boys are getting the crap kicked out of him, Jordan sees Jonathan really starting to get hurt, like starting to bleed and whatnot, and fires laser beams out of his eyes at the bonfire, causing an explosion. So Jordan's the one with powers and not Jonathan. Which
I kind of want to call this back to, because in the first 4 minutes of the show, like, wasn't it that we saw Jonathan throw the football and it broke the rope with the tire on it?
Okay, so a normal human can do that if it's an old dried out rope, which on an old Kent farm, which hasn't had a child on it in probably a decade and a half, and yeah, it's reasonable.
But a 7 to 8 year old?
It's reasonable. Really dry rope. Dry rope.
I have my theories.
You have your theories. I do think they both have powers.
I do too.
I just don't think that they manifest the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
So in the middle of all of, God, there's so much that happens in this second act.
Yeah.
So we get back to Superman chasing the guy in the mech suit. And he gets caught by him in outer space. They're up in the upper atmosphere, and dude straight up shanks him with kryptonite in the chest, and just like, pitch, fall to earth. You're a worthless dying god now.
Yeah.
Which was really, really cool. And then we had to go use the trope of Lois calls for help so Superman can pull kryptonite out of his chest and do whatever he wants.
Right.
I mean, there's some good and some bad in this episode, guys.
Well, to be fair, I will say this. Like, Kryptonite just takes his powers away. So, he basically has the same power as a regular human. You know, not saying that you should, but regular humans can pull stuff out of their, like, body if they've been stabbed. Like, it's the same as pulling a knife out. So I could understand how he was able to do it and all that. But, you know, he got stabbed in the heart for that long.
I'm just gonna say this really quick so that way the comment section doesn't blow us up. Kryptonite also incredibly weakens Superman. It literally poisons him. Just being near it puts him to his knees. So
that is true.
You have your logic issues with some parts. I have my logic issues with other parts.
I get that. I just feel like even still, like you'd be able to pull something out of that so long as you had like a decent grip, because it's really just coming out of the flesh, and it didn't look like that. The kryptonite itself wasn't jagged on certain sides. It seemed like, you had like a normal crystal, so it didn't look like it would be caught on anything. So it slipped right on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Right. So like I said, Lois uses her little Superman homing beacon thing, and he pulls out the kryptonite and he gets back in time to, see the aftermath of what happened with Jordan. Luckily, nobody was killed. A couple of kids got pretty hurt, like a broken arm and things like that. But then it comes down to, like, they have to decide what they want to do about Jordan's powers. So they have the family meeting. They talk about it. And basically, Clark is trying to decide at this point about whether or not they want to move to Smallville. The show spends a lot of time at the end being really slow. Mm-hmm. This episode at the end just felt padded. There's a lot of going back and forth. We learned that Morgan Edge secretly bought the bank that had Martha Kent's mortgage, the reverse mortgage, the predatory one. Mm-hmm. So Edge has an interest in Smallville, and it's not good. We'll just say that. He's got his schemes working, and I'm interested to find out what that is. But of course, we get the decision to move to Smallville. We're going to move the whole family to Smallville. And then by the end of the episode, they're talking about putting plows on, and the kids are talking about how they have like a million questions. But then we go back to the dude in the suit. And if you are a fan of Superman, and I told you that there was a very intelligent person in a mech suit with kryptonite who could fight Superman, Tyster, who would that person be?
Master Chief. No, Lex Luthor. Come on now.
Dude, what? Yes, Lex Luthor.
No, I only say Master Chief because if you look at the ending scene, he's got the suit of armor, and it looks like it looks like Spartan 117 right there.
Right.
But yes, it's Lex Luthor. They say Captain.
I will give them
Luthor,
props for not making it green, though. The suit was not green.
Yeah, it wasn't a dead giveaway.
Right. But I was actually a little upset that I didn't put those pieces together. It's like super intelligent guy with kryptonite in a mech suit fighting Superman. Of course it's going to be Lex Luthor. We do not see his face. We only see the back of his bald, beautiful brown head. Lex Luthor is African American in this series, it appears.
Which is a nice touch. I think it's
got a computer.
Yeah.
Like, the computer talks to him.
Yeah.
So there's something up with that advanced technology. I'm going to keep leaning towards Brainiac. If you guys can't tell, Brainiac's one of my favorite Superman villains.
Yeah.
So, but let's kind of wrap this thing up. We're pushing that half hour mark here. But kind of final thoughts, kind of give the episode a grade. What do you think, buddy?
As a starting pilot for a series, I thought it was really, really good. The only one that really kind of got me hooked like this was originally Arrow, and that first season of Arrow was really, really good. So overall, I would honestly give it an A. I think it was fantastic. I honestly, to be quite frank, I wasn't excited for the show. I'm not a big Superman fan. I know of Superman. I know of a lot of stuff. when it comes to Superman. Not like a lot, but yeah. But watching this pilot and seeing what it's doing, it's not cookie cutter Superman. You know, this is Superman in modern day world and dealing with, like, you know, modern day problems alongside with being, you know, Superman. So I think it's an A. I think it's fantastic. Love it. I'll definitely keep on watching it. So.
I enjoyed it. I don't know if I go so far as giving it an A. There's just a few things here and there that kind of bug me about it. I'm gonna go with like a B+. I don't like the characterization of Lois so far. I've always felt like Lois was that additional constant that he needed, like that kept him on the moral path. Like she questions him in a moral way. But in this, she's like straight up, no, you can't go chase down this bad guy because your kids need you. I get that being a parent is a very important role. Like, it's a very important job. It's something that's definitely needed. But the dude is Superman, can literally do what no one else on the face of the planet can freaking do. And there's people in trouble. You do not stop him from helping them. Like, that's his purpose in life. But that could just be me and my whole comic book fanboy fantasy thing. Because, like, superheroes, I don't know. It's just cool. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to be one. Too much responsibility. So yeah, B, I don't know, maybe B+. I don't know. I'm definitely intrigued enough to keep watching. I want to see what's going on with Morgan Edge. I want to see Lex Luthor's face. And I want to know the story there, because it doesn't seem like Soups didn't instantly think that this was Lex Luthor. So have they not had history in this story before?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
That was weird too, because like he didn't think it was Lex Luthor, and I'm pretty sure like even after a little bit of time he would recognize the voice. So there's something more to it, and I'm definitely intrigued and wanting to know more about that.
What about you guys down in the chat or the comment section? Are you intrigued? Did you enjoy this episode? Are you willing to give it another shot? I know Tyster and I are thinking about doing this again next week. So hit that thumbs up button. Let us know what you guys think. And until the next one, I am Alec Hunter, joined by Tyster Daisetsu. We are signing out.
Bye, dudes.